Doug, so again, we're here with Lucy today, and we're just going to talk through the process of how to conduct a successful handover. So this is the point where everything's been installed, and it's just training the customer up on how to use the system. If you want to talk through that process for us, please, Lucy.
Yes, so conducting a successful handover. So in the first instance, we would have the order processed and all of the equipment installed. At that point, we would then offer training direct with the customer, either on site or via Teams. Once that training is booked in, I would then go out and see them, and I'm going to do a brief overview on what exactly I would be training them on. So first of all, I'd make sure that everybody has got their login details. So I would discuss user permissions with the main users. Sometimes they won't want access, they won't want all users to have access to all of the reporting, and that could be like driver behavior, if they've got the Fuel Smart product, if they did have cameras, they might not want them to have access to them. So we would discuss that, and then we'd get the login details set up and sent out to all of the users, and then I would arrange training on site. Now, the first thing I would do when I'm conducting the training would be just to show the live tracking on the left-hand side. So you've got all of your vehicles here on the left-hand side. You can see you've got quite a lot of information here. You've got the location, you've got your fuel level, you've got your odometer reading, obviously registration. Click on your vehicles there. They will appear on the map. Clustering mode on. And that off there. Okay, so you've got some quick links. I'm going to show you how the system actually functions, just using the quick links, and you typically use these on a day-to-day if you just want to see what the vehicles are actually doing today without going into historical information. So if I show you, if you hover over any of these, it will show you what reports are available via the quick links, but you've got your journey report. Click into journey report. The way that this works is ignition on to ignition off. So you can see you've got all your information, your start time, your stop time, start location, stop location, duration of driving, distance, and idling time. Not really done a lot for today, so I'm going to pick another vehicle as an example. So we can see that this vehicle here, he's done 9.93 miles between 7:18 and 8:09. Click on your journey report and it will give you your routing down the left-hand side here. So just to give you an idea, indicators, this is showing you that the direction the vehicle is traveling in. If it is an amber, it means the vehicle has been idling for 2 minutes. If that turns to red, that means that the vehicle has been excessively idling for 5 minutes. As you can see all of your routing down the left-hand side here, and you can also see your speed. The way that your tracking unit will update is every 500 meters, every 30 degrees, and every minute. So you are getting 5 to 6 pings a minute there, 4 to 5. So you can see you've got, and then you've also got your route in here. You can change that to a line view. You can click on any part of the route. And again, from Google Maps, you can do a street view. No street view found on that particular one. Okay, because of where we are. Okay. So I've showed the quick links. You've got another link here, which is proximity. So if you click on any of your assets and you click on the proximity, it will list all of your assets to the closest asset, if you like. So we know the MTF, we can see where the closest vehicle is to that particular vehicle. So we've got CYT, we can say it's only 2.1 miles away. And then you've got a little route in there. If you click on the flag, that will give you a route as well from that particular asset to the asset that you've selected to any of your other assets, depending on which one you want to see the route for. Okay, you've then got, if you have got different groups, so some customers will have groups either for vans and trucks, or they might have them for different types of vehicles, depending on what they do. So you've got a little option here, edit asset group assignment. So if you click on there, it will list all your groups here, and this is just where you would switch your vehicles from group to group. Now, if your vehicle is in a current journey, so you can see the wheels moving, you can see it's not parked up, it's in a current journey. Any current journeys will display in this little road icon. So this is showing you when the vehicle last turned his ignition off, and you can see he's on the road there. And again, you can see his route for the day, or the route for the current journey. Okay. Again, we've got some added features here. We don't always use all of them. It's depending on what the customer's got. So this particular customer isn't with Aquarius. So these wouldn't be applicable for this particular customer, but we have got little options there that will take you straight into Aquarius if they're your analysis provider. And that's your single sign-on there. And you also have a single sign-on here on the blue taskbar here that gives you all your different options. So that's just giving you an overview of what you can see from the front end and what reports you can get without having to navigate into your reports, which we'll touch on now. Now you've got your blue taskbar here, you've got your last reload here, and you've also, you can see, you check your time, you can see that's up to date, 8th of February 2023, it's 11:51, and that is the same time which is on my PC right now. If this bar here does change to red, that means that your browser is expired by 5 minutes, so you will need to refresh the system there. Okay, now we've got some, I'm going to touch on some of the icons that we've got on the top blue taskbar. Now we've got dashboards here. This isn't applicable for this particular customer, but this is dashboards that will show the DVR health status if there's any HDD issues. This particular customer wouldn't have that option, so I'm going to skip onto the next one, which will be, I'm going to skip reports and I'm going to go back to reports in a second. You've got your proximity there as well. So as we touched on, you've got your proximity here, and you can have a look where the closest asset is to a particular asset there. You can also select your proximity here, and you can select a point of interest. So if you've got a point of interest set up and you wanted to see where the closest vehicles are to Aintree, click in there, or you can enter your location, select search, and then it will bring up the point of interest and the closest vehicles to that particular point of interest. So your next one, always close that off. Your next one is you've got a little route in there. So you can add in a route if you wanted to put a start asset to a destination. Add in there, select, and it will give you a little route in. This is probably what isn't one of the main features that's used a lot, because a lot of the drivers use sat nav, so they have like planning programs, driver planning programs in place. But you've got that option there if you do need it. Your next option here is your asset alerts. So if we select one of your vehicles, you can only set up an alert per asset for one asset at a time. So if we go into asset alerts, as you will see there, please select one asset. So again, select your asset there. Okay, I have selected one asset there, Dan, so I'm not too sure if that's an issue.
Try another one if you don't mind there, Lucy, just out of curiosity, in case it's maybe that one. That's really strange. Let me... Possibly a refresh. I know there is a few things being worked on there, but
I know. And that's the last thing you want to have an issue with when you're doing training. You're like, I'm not too sure why that's happening. But there we go. Let's try it again. Third time lucky. Oh, there we go. So you've got
you just done a refresh there, basically.
I did, but we have just transferred that. We have just changed the portal over to our new site, so it's being worked on all the time. So that might have just been a little bug there. So asset alerts, there we go. So click on there. You've got different types of alerts. The most common alert is going to be your point of interest alert. So you would go to add POI alert. It's going to bring up a little box here. You're going to name your point of interest. So whether it's my yard, I've got one there, Mersey Gateway Bridge, that's for me, pay for crossing. If we go to your point of interest here, it will already be saved into the system already. So I don't know if Mersey View is on there. No, Mersey Gateway Bridge. I'm just going to type in any of these just for this exercise. So your alert type, in or out. So I would select you want an alert when the vehicle enters the vicinity and when it actually leaves the vicinity. And then you can put alert me during them times. So if you only want them in the weekday, you can unselect your weekends and you won't get the alerts at the weekend, or you can put in your parameters for the times that you want to receive the alerts just under here, submit. And then once you've submitted, that will then create an alert and you will get an email when a vehicle enters or leaves that vicinity, depending on how you've set that point of interest alert up. Okay. So I would usually just touch base on what all of these little icons are. Not all of them are going to be applicable to this particular customer, but we have got the next one is edit asset. Okay, so just showing you how to edit an asset if you need to amend any of the details. So say, for instance, the units are deinstalled from one vehicle to another and you want to amend the friendly name and the registration, or you simply just want to put in the friendly name. If it's one vehicle per driver, you might want to put in Tom there or whatever friendly name you want. Some customers will put a fleet number. So it's all dependent on how you want to view it on your live track on the left-hand side. You've got your little asset icons that you can set up there as well. You've got authorized use here. So if you want any reporting on that, you would then set it up on your asset here. You'd put your weekday authorization start, authorization end, and so on. Now you've got your fuel smart settings here. We do set the MPG by default, usually at 8 to 10, but that can be changed by the customer depending on the type of work that the vehicles are doing and what they want, what they expect to achieve out of them vehicles. Your rev bands I would leave as they are, and then you've got your speed bands, low band and your high band. Again, you'd leave them as you are because that will highlight in any speeding that's over 56 miles per hour, which is the speed limit, maximum speed limit for a truck. Okay. So that's just some simple information there that you can do, edit in the asset. Most importantly, you've got your asset details. Now, 9 times out of 10, when I say 9 times out of 10, sometimes it can be quite difficult. On the fleet requirement list that we were looking at just then, we have asked for the tank sizes. Now, the customers don't always have the tank sizes, and if they haven't supplied these when we're processing the order, this is something that I would go back to, add blue tank size and your fuel tank sizes. And that's something that can be added in here either by the customer or by ourselves. But the add blue size, we can't add that in at the minute. So I don't know if that's something, Dan, you're looking at.
Yeah, with the fuel tank size, we're looking at kind of standardizing it, but more so putting it back on the customer. A lot of the fuel tanks are aftermarket, so they'll build the actual body itself, and then they'll pick what fuel tank size they want, as well as there's a possibility for dual tanks and long range tanks. So definitely prefer to put it on the customer to give them the option to update it,
Yeah.
So that's what I usually do.
So sorry to interrupt. Are they missing out on any features by not putting in their tank size? Is there anything that they're not
It's
capturing?
just the way that we report on the information. So it's more accurate if you have got your tank sizes in. We do the AdBlue by default. So we will work it out based on a 24 litre tank. Obviously, customer can do a calculation themselves, but what you want the data on here when you're running reports to be correct. So some of you could have 2 identical vehicles. One could have a 24 litre AdBlue tank and one could have a 35 litre. So it's always worth checking that. And then when you are running your reports, it's going to reflect, the data is going to be more accurate and you don't have to add in your own calculations, if that makes sense.
Yep. Thank you.
But yeah, I would always try and get the tank sizes, especially for what we're going to touch on now. I'm going to move on to the actual reporting side of things, and this is just stuff I would go through when I'm training my customer on the different types of reports. So if I click into, I'm going to select all my vehicles on the left hand side. We are going to go into reports, and I'm just going to briefly discuss. I'm not going to go into them too in depth because I think the majority, unless you want me to, I can go into them more in depth, but I'm just conscious of
A
time.
list as long as your arm. I would probably go maybe the likes of Beacon and Journey and maybe, you know, Beacon summary and stuff. Lucy, yeah.
Yeah, so what I was thinking, I'm just going to touch on today. I'm going to go for your journey report, which is, you know, ultimately gives you your journey stop start location. We'll take a look at your Beacon report, and then we'd look at the good stuff that you get from the fuel solution that you've got in the vehicle, which would be your Beacon summary by vehicle or by driver. We'll look at some league tables. We have got other reports there, but it's quite a lot to go through. So I'm just going to stick to the main reports that we need to look at today. So you've got the first one here. You've got your journey report. And then you've got your quick launch here. So you can either set your parameters there, or if you want to quickly have a look at your vehicles and I want to run a journey report for the full fleet for last week, for instance, all you would do is select last week, and then it will bring all your vehicles up, or whichever vehicles that you've selected, and it will give you your journey reports for last week. So as we can see for MYF, we can see for the month, for the week, he's done a duration of 48 hours and 42 minutes, a distance of 435 miles, his driving time, and you've got his total idling time there as well. So this is showing every single day his stop start locations. Okay. And you can see here, if you want to look, you've got this little icon, the little globe show on map. So if you want to look into a particular journey, you can actually just click on show on the map, and it will give you the map plot here down the left hand side. And it will also highlight in any harsh corners, or if you've got any harsh driving events, harsh brakes. You can see that he's got 2 there in that journey. You can also change this to a plot view as well. And again, this will highlight if there is any speeding. You just have to be mindful it's not a crossover, because that can happen sometimes, which it looks like he's on the M3 here, and there could be a little crossover there. So if I go into the report, we can see that that's correct. He was on the M3. There's a little bit of a crossover there, GPS, and it's picked up that. So it's not an actual speeding event, so nothing to worry about.
Sorry, just so I'm matter of interest, the crossover, what does that look like in real life? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so imagine you're on the M3, so you're on the motorway, and then you've got a crossover, and the GPS picks up the road underneath for next to the motorway. So we can see here is picked up Poles Lane. So that is there saying that there's a limit of 30. But we can see here he's on the M3. He didn't come off the M3 and go onto Poles Lane. So it's just picked up a little crossover there on the GPS.
Understood. Thanks.
No problem. Okay, and again, you can click on any part of the map. We do get our license from Google Maps. So click on your street view, and again, just like Google Maps, it will take you to that precise point on the map where the vehicle was at the time. Okay, so that is your journey report. I'm going to move on to the Beacon report. So this report is great, and this is one of the reasons you would get your fuel solution, because it's going to give you all your journey information, but it's going to give you so much more. So I'm just going to run this for today for all of the vehicles. Like a vehicle that he hasn't really done. Let's have a look. Right, we'll go for this one. So OFA. So as you can see here, as a snapshot in this little blue taskbar here, you've got a lot of information compared to what you get from the journey report. So you've got your in journey time, which is 2 hours and 36 minutes. Total driving time is 1 hour and 29 minutes. Your miles traveled, excess revs per minute, so it gives you a percentage there. Excessive idling time, you've got a percentage there. Total idling time, harsh accelerations, harsh brakes. It will give you the average MPG. That's for today. Fuel used, so you can see the fuel used today. CO2, fuel used on idle, litres per 100 kilometres, and your cruise control. So we can see he's applied his cruise control for 27 minutes there and his stop time. Now, on all of these journeys here, so you can see stop starts, that's ignition on and ignition off. If you can expand out on here, you can see the driver. So we can see that this particular driver was driving at that time. We can add in the names as well if you prefer to view it as a name rather than driver number. But you've got quite a lot of information here. So your trip time, driving time, cruise control, odometer, journey end, fuel level, harsh brakes. So there's quite a lot of information. You've got your AdBlue there and your AdBlue used. So you can see this information per journey. However, it is better to actually run this for a time period, so maybe a week or a month. But if you do need to expand out per journey, you've got that information per journey as well. You can have a look at them journeys on a scorecard if you wish. So if I pick out a journey that's actually, you'd probably want to pick a larger journey to work with. You don't want something that's not really moved. So, okay, he's only done 9.93 miles there, but we'll pull up a scorecard. Okay, so there's no canvas selected. Don't know why that is. Okay. I'm going to go back to the scorecards. Again, you've got your show a map. So you've got the little globe, same as what you've got on your journey report. And again, that will give you the same information as the journey report. It'll give you a map plot down the left-hand side and then the plot on the map. This vehicle hasn't actually moved. So that's why you've just got a little bit of shunting probably around the yard there. Okay. Any questions on the BCAM report?
Looks good, Lucy.
Okay, so I would always ask after I've gone through each report if they've got any questions, and then answer them.
Is there any, even if we look at them last two reports, is there any typical FAQs that come up every time, or are they just completely sporadic with questions?
Yeah, in the beginning, I would say that there isn't that many questions because they can see all the data's there. I think it usually comes afterwards when they're delving more into the reports and they're using the reports, and then they'll probably ring me and say, oh, they could ask a question. It could be on overspeed or cruise control or whatever it might be. They usually do come afterwards. What you do find is if you are doing if you're doing training and it's for more than a few users and you're in a classroom, you've got 6 or 7 users, you'll get more questions then, but there's none that come up more than others really. It could be anything.
Understood.
And then you've got your BCAN summary report by vehicle and by driver. So this is a new report that we've done. All comes through the fuel solution that we've got in the vehicle, and it's providing all of the data from the CAN. So it's reading the canvas and then it's providing all the data to us and we're displaying it in this lovely report. So I'm going to run it for last month. For these drivers, we've got a count of 10 drivers we can see for the month. For last month, select all drivers, load my report. And this is one of the reports you would get through having the Fuel Smart solution in your vehicles. So we're just going to let that load up. That will take a little minute because I'm just running the vehicle, running all of his drivers for the month. Okay, so we've got BCAN summary by driver. So this is what they're going to be looking at in terms of driving behaviour. And I'm just going to talk you through this. So you can see the driver number in there. It is better when you've got the names because it's more personal. You've got your first journey start. So this is for January. Last journey ends, your total journey count, total distance and miles travelled, harsh brake count, total harsh brake count, percentage of harsh brakes from all brakes. You've got your average distance by harsh brakes, total engine on time, total driving time, total idling time, total excessive idling time, total fuel used in gallons, your total PTO time, total fuel used on idle. Oh no, sorry, on PTO. Total fuel burnt. You've got your total fuel used whilst driving. And then you've got your average in gallons, your average driving in gallons, average axle weight, average axle weight. That was a bit of a tongue twister. You've got your CO2, your NOx, your PM, and your AdBlue. So you can see you've got a lot of information there that's being displayed just from that fuel unit that's in your vehicle, and that's reading all of the information from the can and displaying it again, like I said, on this particular report by driver. Now, that is just touching on the driver performance, but you can run this on the vehicle performance if you wish. So you might want to do that if you know you've only got one driver per vehicle, you know, you don't have multiple drivers in the same vehicles.
Okay.
You can then run that just on your vehicles. So it's just going to give you the vehicle, and then you're going to get all the same information, but just based on the vehicle rather than the actual driver. Any questions?
No, looks
Nope.
good. The only thing I was going to say, Lucy, obviously on your drop down, you have admin rights and you have every report under the sun. It'll obviously be tailored towards what you've sold the customers to what they can see, basically.
Yes, it will. It probably would have been better if I actually signed in as the customer. Maybe.
Sure, same difference, all good.
All
I
good.
know. So yeah, I wouldn't show them all the reports because I have got quite a lot of reports here and they won't be applicable to a customer that has fuel smart. Everything I've shown you so far is though. So that's the main thing. You've got sustainability. So this is, again, great little report. It's not bringing any of the information up. So when I say that, yeah.
Just curious, with the whole sustainability theme becoming more and more popular, is I think that's data that these companies are more interested in than probably they've ever been.
Yeah, for sure, because
Okay.
it's all about reducing your carbon footprint and you know, doing your bit. So especially if you're a part of FORS, which is your FORS fleet recognition operation, no, fleet operators recognition scheme. If you're part of that, there is certain areas, if you go for like silver and gold, they will require you to report on things like CO2, NOx and PM. So yeah, huge for reducing your carbon footprint. We're doing obviously part of the Go Green HTV program.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is when it works, because I don't know why. I'm going to try and run it for this month.
Try
that's not actually.
Try the reload if you wouldn't mind, Lucy, there on that one.
Yeah, I'm just going to refresh it. Third time lucky. No, I'm not too sure why that information is not coming up, but just so so you get the gist of it, you've got the same information that you get from the BCAN summary, but it's just breaking it down. It's not giving you all the information. It's just giving you the CO2, NOx, your AdBlue, and your fuel used, and your MPG, and your average axle weight. So it's the same type of report, but it's just narrowed down just to give you the information that you need for sustainability.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you've got vehicle league tables. So again, because you've got the fuel solution, if we run a report for last month, we are going to rank all your vehicles, best performing vehicles to worst. And then you can see there, you've got your legend at the bottom that shows you how each of these scores are marked. Your MPG mark, over revving, idling, harsh braking, over speed, and your total score. Now, just bear in mind as well, you can run this on the based on the driver as well, which I'll show you now. So your red is obviously areas of improvement. Amber, again, areas of improvement, could be better, but not too bad. And then your green is where you want to be in terms of league tables. So vehicle league tables, driver league tables, which I'm going to run now. run that net for last month. We're going to run a driver league table. And again, you'll see all of the drivers displayed there. And we're going to rank the drivers from the best driver to the worst. And then again, legend at the bottom to show you exactly how them scores are made up. You can actually add in your price of fuel as well. So we all know it's not £1 anymore. So depending on what you're paying for that week, you can add that in there and that will reflect in your fuel cost here.
I just have to ask the question, do the customers ever use those league tables for any like bonuses or like conversations, all that? Okay, so you've seen that working very well.
Yeah, now some will go overboard and they'll put it in their transport office, and then you can see the drivers getting really competitive.
Put it up on the wall. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, some companies will introduce bonus schemes, you know, for the best driver. I don't think anyone really wants to be at the bottom of the league table. So yeah, and I mean by doing so, they're only going to reduce their fuel bill and improving the driving behavior. You will get driver trainers that will sit down with the drivers and they will have a look at what we've got, a driver scorecard.
Okay.
I just run the driver scorecard. I'm going to run that for last month, but I'm just going to pick any driver out, load report, and then we can see all of his journeys for the month, for last month, for January. And then if I click on driver score by driver, it's the ACAN report, it's going to give you a little graph here. So we can have a look at this driver's performance for the month. So we can see his all journey duration, his distance. So we can see he's done 904 miles, number of journeys, so that's ignition on off, average journey duration, average journey distance, total idling time, excessive idle, PTO time, so his PTO time is shown as 0, his non-PTO idle is shown at 38 hours, harsh brakes 12, harsh accelerations are 388, total fuel used there in gallons, and then your fuel used on idle, and whether he's applied cruise control, which he has for 10 hours and 17 minutes for the month. Now, if we scroll down, you've got his percentage of time spent in rev bands. So that's pretty good. Can't see any amber or red there. And then we can see any over speeding. Now, this is in blocks of 5. So he could have spent the majority of this driving time at 56 miles per hour. So we can put that into a 2D report to give a more of a true reflection of the overspeed if that is a concern. And then right at the bottom here, most importantly, we want to look at what MPG is achieving. So he's achieving an MPG of 7.2 miles to the gallon against a target of 8.88, pretty poor. And then he's got his idling time here at 53.99. RHA suggested acceptable standards would be usually between around 6 and 8%. So massive area of improvement there. So that's when I would just discuss with the, you know, where the areas of improvement are. And then that's something that the driver trainers will discuss with the drivers and then hopefully see them improvements and then start really saving on their fuel consumption. Okay. Any questions on that one?
Oh, all good in the reports. I'm just conscious of time. Maybe Lucy coming up to half 12. I'm just wondering if you would touch on the likes of the support interactions and SLAs and stuff like that, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So obviously you've got a lot of reports there. So what I would always do is give all the report out. We would always make sure that the customer's got all the reports that they need. We would conduct the training and then maybe do a refresher. And we would point them we would give them the link for our knowledge base. So if they do forget anything that you've discussed in the training, they've always got guides to go back to. So I'm just going to log into that now. Oh. Okay. So we've got our knowledge base here, and this will give you, it's got general help for all your different categories. So you're tracking general help, fuel performance help, camera smart help, compliance and driver ID. Everything is actually under there. So if you do forget, you know, it could be how to use a journey report, click into tracking and general help, and then it will give you a link to all of these different reports that we would discuss. Okay. Now, what I would do then is I would make sure that the customer's happy with the training that I provided. And then once we've done that, we would then go through the support interactions. So I would make sure that they've got all of the contact details for, if it's for support, whether it's they need the email address for footage, or whether they need an email address for fleet support. So if they have any service work, any deinstalls, reinstalls, any issues at all, they would email fleetsupport@wearecubo.com. I'm just going to go back onto here. And sorry, Dan, I'm just going to pull up so much information. The onboarding part as well. Okay. Okay, so once they're happy with the training that we've conducted, we would just make sure that they have got all the relevant contact information for, like I said, support, the desk-based account manager, which would be Lee Thompson. Yeah, and then we would then go on to discussing any service costs. So if it's outside their warranty, what the fee would be for sending an engineer. And then we would discuss their SLA, obviously, what any cost for replacement equipment that has been damaged via maybe an incident or tampered with or anything like that outside of the warranty periods. So I'm just going to go back on there. Okay. Have you got any more questions?
Yeah, no, I think that was pretty much all the touch points, Lucy. It's pretty good. Just as I say, it's a working SLA document. It hasn't been fully signed off yet, but we do obviously touch on those points, like who to contact and the SLA outside of warranty and stuff like that. But I think that would be pretty much the height of it, unless there's any other questions from yourself or Lucy, you want to touch on any other points on it?
No, I think with the SLA, once that's once that's complete, then we would discuss that in more depth once that is completed. But I mean, in the interim, I would just discuss, right, okay, if there is a service call, this is how much it's going to cost. If there's a deinstall from, equipment being moved from one vehicle to another, this is what they're going to cost, just to set their expectation there.
Yeah.
And
then is that done verbally, Lucy, or do you follow it up with any kind of written emails or?
So the SLA, which is the working document at the moment, they will sign that. So they will, we would have a signed copy of that. And then that's something, once I've done all their training, that I would discuss verbally as well.
Understood. Okay. The only question I have for me is the training element here you're doing, you talk about in a classroom setting, does that generally happen online through Teams or through Zoom, or is it face-to-face? What's the ratio look like? What's the typical?
It all depends. Some customers are happy to do it on Teams. Some of my clients have multiple sites, so they might have like 10 different sites, and then it might only have like 1 or 2 users per site. So at that point, I would just set up maybe a half an hour Teams to go through the system with them. But any high-end users, 9 times out of 10, I would go out to site, especially if they're a new customer, they've just signed up, everything's been installed. Get out to site to meet them, for that personal touch. Some of them are happy to have the training done via Teams. They prefer it via Teams, and some people are old school and they prefer you to come out and see them in person. So it all depends on the client itself. Yeah.
And in the scenario you're on site with the customer showing them or going through the training, do you bring in your own device and share your laptop on a big screen? What does that physically look like?
Yeah, so I would bring my own laptop. I would, while I'm doing the training, if I'm doing it on a big screen, I would log on with their details, because obviously I don't want to confuse them with all of the reports that they might have, all of the links that they might have that aren't applicable to them.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
Happy days. If nothing else to add there, I'll stop the recording now if all good.
Right, okay, I'm happy with that. Thanks.